Peter Angelo?
Either way.
Peter Angelo. How would you prefer if somebody would like to bring you up on stage?
I usually bring on stage. I like Peter Angelo. I guess it sounds better.
Yeah, I usually go by whatever they have a person would have on their Instagram, just because. But sometimes with pronunciations and stuff. Yeah. But Peter Angelo is pretty good.
Yeah, when it's just like in conversations, Peter, whatever, float your boat. I guess when I actually being brought up on stage, I don't know, just like Peter Angelo flows better than Pete.
Yeah,
Angelo.
Yeah. I think what I was thinking the most, because you're not only a stand-up comedian, but you're a metal fan and a power lifter. So strongman.
Yeah, I never did any powerlifting competition, so technically strongman, but it's similar vein.
Okay, so is there anything? There's still like strongman like competitions though. That's what that is. Like
I've done several.
Hold the big old metal balls,
big rocks,
rocks and shit like that. Okay, so is there anything that you particularly listen to that would like get you pumped, whether it be a strongman competition or like a set or a show coming up? Like, do you have a playlist?
I do have a couple playlists, but usually it's really whatever just I've been into. Like at the moment, I don't think like, okay, I'm doing strongman, I got to listen to like this playlist. But like whatever it really is, whatever I'm into at the moment, whatever just gets me like hyped. Like, nice. Like I like right now, like I listen to a lot of Gate Creeper.
Yeah, you were talking about Gate Creeper a lot. Yeah. Also, the band that you brought up on Taylor's podcast was that I really ended up loving a lot was Spirit World.
Yeah, Spirit World is sick.
That was one that I think new music in general for me, when I find something new metal or new hardcore or something like that, it always gets me like, that's what I put in my post on Instagram. That's what I'm going to put on that's what I'll have to walk up to on stage. And that's what I'm like listening to before I do a podcast.
That's what like, what's just funny is like discovering like new music, or even just like having like thinking about the bands you like and when they're talking about their new albums like that. Yeah. That's like the shit that like gets me like excited for like life.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah. What
like
motivates
I'm generally
you to live?
No, just like that. Like I'm like, oh fucking this band just announced like a sick tour, or like oh fucking Whitechapel's working on a new album, or just like whatever, or like, oh, I'm gonna see I get to hang with my buddies in this band, like that shit just like, oh, I get to talk about it. Like that shit just gets me fucking super pumped up. Like I'm just like the same way with like even with like movies too, like oh, this movie's coming out that's like so, but it's like that, but it's like more often because like music there's always like new music coming out. But like so think about like discovering a new band that is such a cool feeling. Yeah. And then like them, and then the opposite of that is when you discover an old band who's broken up because of one of their members is a piece of shit.
Brother, that is I don't even know if that's why. I haven't actually, you know what, I should probably look into it, because I had this weird run of things where I was going for a while. I was discovering a band that I loved, and then I found out had broken up like a month or two before. You ever heard of Martyr AD?
Yeah.
Martyr AD was a band that I remember it very specifically. I was at Sound Exchange in Pinellas County, Florida. I was looking around in the used like section or whatever, and I saw it was a really cool imagery. Like it was a bluish like skull on the cover of this black album or whatever, and it looked really sick, but it was like $4.99 or something like that. And I was like, I'll give it a shot. Yeah. I don't know what made me do it or whatever, but I bought this album and I was just like, this is incredible. And I was like, holy shit. And I got so excited, and I found out they were actually coming, like, or they had just been there like a month before in my town or something like that. I was like, oh man, that's so awesome. And then I actually like searched them and found out they had broken up not long after that.
Damn.
And I was just like, what the fuck? Martyr AD, that happened. And also another band, Embrace the End was another one that was like 1 or 2 albums, and it was incredible. Discovered them, but then in the same time discovered that they had broken up. Refuse actually was the same thing.
Oh, no shit.
I discovered Refuse as they were breaking up.
There was one, and I can't even remember the name of the band, and I must have like kind of, maybe it's a good thing, because like literally they came up like on one of like, you know, Spotify just like throws together playlists of like stuff, and it must have come up, and I was like, this is sick. I kept going back. I was like looking into it. Trying to look up the band, and it was like they broke up because the singer had like sexual assault, stuff like that. I'm like, God damn, like every fucking time.
We talk about it a lot on just in general, like how many times that's happened, and even just how many times? Like Andy's a huge Dance Gavin Dance fan,
Yeah.
and that is
Isn't that going on right now?
It's happening like it
in real time. Like
it
people are
happened
still
in
like,
real time, and then even like they go like, all right, well, he's gonna stay on the band, and then that's gonna happen. Like we were talking about it. I was talking about it with another comic, Molly Vivant. Yeah. She was here yesterday, and we were talking about the band Brand New, and she was the band we were talking about. We were talking about.
I have made fun of Brand New.
Same.
So fucking much.
She is she loves Brand New, but even she's somebody that's like, you know what?
Yeah, my friend.
You can separate the art from the artist.
My friend Colin's like a big fan.
Yeah,
and but like I would make fun of that because that was another band like there's like a lot of the bands in like that genre or like that never gave a shit about. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people's like delving into the heavier stuff when they get older. It had like two camps. It was like you were into like the post-hardcore kind of emo first generation bands, or it was new metal.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. It's like we were. I know you guys were talking about that a lot on Taylor's podcast. And check out the Gorecast. Peter and
people
Taylor
are still yelling at us about that fucking clip.
Brother, I gotta tell you, I showed that to Andy, and he goes, "Oh, Taylor's got some terrible he's got terrible." I understand what it was, and you guys can.
But here's the thing:
that.
I think his is confusing because he says only one good song. I actually like Korn.
Yeah.
So like I'm not saying like Korn has one good song.
Same way. It's the same way I feel about those pedophile slapping videos. I'm like, don't make me defend I like the fact I like what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
then
don't make me go like, but
for sure. Yeah.
You shouldn't do to say that they only have one good song is the part where you're like, that's
crazy.
Then they go like,
you could like Korn more, but like that's crazy that it still has one good song.
Korn has more hits than it. I'm like, bro, just the self-titled first album of Slipknot has more. I mean, but then that's when you learn art is subjective.
Yeah.
And you just try to go, I'm not going to comment.
But I mean, we did it. That's like a clip like, we definitely are baiting. We're definitely baiting people to argue in the comment section, which we have. And we've had people make some. It's so fun. One of the funniest things when people are like, oh, it's not real metal, is it? I'm like, we're talking about bands that we liked when we were fucking 12.
Right. Yeah. What is this really?
We're not saying we still are thinking these are the greatest bands on earth.
Well,
they're gateway bands.
That was the subject. And that's actually probably a good way to put it, too, because the way that we were talking about it was bands that inherently, because I always try to send out a list of topics, but I knew we would have plenty to talk about music-wise for people just to say, like, hey, is there any any of these, like bands, songs by bands you love or songs that you love by bands you hate, bands that you hate that you love, some of the music by or whatever, any of those things. Like, and her suggestion was, can we do bands that inherently I'm embarrassed to be a fan of? And Brand New was one of them, but not for the reason that we all would think of the allegations. It was just, like you said, I think the fact that they were, and I brought up the fact that for the longest time, NoFX was my favorite band. And I would always preface it by saying, I don't think that they're the best band in the world.
Yeah,
they're my favorite band.
Yeah, for sure.
So like it's the subject matter, it's the way they do it.
Yeah,
their covers, the way I love the DIY in general aspect.
I thumb wrestled Fat Mike at the Punk Rock Museum.
Did you really?
2 years ago.
No way.
He was just there.
Yeah,
because he owns it. I know, but like I just went on a whim because we were in Vegas and I wanted to go check it out. And he was just there, and he was having a conversation, and it was definitely about like weird sex. And I walked I walked up and like he stopped like kind of like mid after saying like the most outrageous thing. I can't remember what the fuck it was, but I just know it was ridiculous. And he's like stopped right a second, turned to me and was like, "Oh, hi." I was like, "Yeah, this is how I expected my first time meeting you to go."
Yeah.
And then he thumb wrestled me. I don't know why.
Bro, it's very fun that like, they say never meet your heroes kind of thing. With him, it's almost like don't meet him because you're not exactly going to understand the interaction.
Yeah, it's going to really...
Does he like me or is he just trying to...
Yeah. I mean, but like, I was like, hey, I met Fat Mike. That's cool.
Yeah, I've throughout the years, I've ended up, because of being such a big fan of theirs, I've met a lot of them.
Yeah.
And every time it's always been a cool interaction.
Yeah.
Like, they are very much... And that's what I think I like about the DIY aspect of... In a lot of senses, even though like Slayer was on a major label, I feel like there's a definite aspect of a DIY. Like they had no real major radio
because
play.
no one's gonna fucking play them.
Right.
Like,
it's always like God hates us all.
Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah, that's like the wild thing too is like the fact that like us, like Slayer can like still do like really well considering for a metal band without ever like. All right, they got on the movie soundtracks and video games, but that's because like they managed to find fans like in those genres.
Yeah, they did that.
Yeah, like no one's. I feel like no one's really pushing them that hard. That's why, and that's I really feel like that's why, like heavy metal, especially like thrash, death metal, like still survives and still does like decently well because they never really had any of the other backing.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like streaming hurts metal as much because they were. It's not like record labels were putting out huge contracts for death metal bands.
Right.
So like the fact that they're not making that much off of that they like when you make that kind of band, you were never like that's that goal.
And that's the great thing. I like you brought up a band that like was another one that I was going to bring up to Molly that in general, especially growing up, was I was not embarrassed to be a fan of Gwar.
That was never a fan.
But I was definitely aware of people's misconceptions.
Yeah.
is exactly what I would put of them being just purely a gimmick band.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and there's something that we talked about on the show forever ago about gimmick bands actually being better than they need to be.
Yeah.
And Gwar, I think, is the pinnacle of that. They were the preferred because you hear about the puppets that come out and they squirt jizz and blood and all this stuff, but like the thing about it was I heard them before I saw them.
Yeah.
And like to me, the visuals only made sense of what I was seeing, and it was the closest thing to I think what most people's first appearance or first thought of musical theater would be.
Yeah.
But it was something that I would not necessarily say like, well, I think Gwar's the best, like, because they're gonna go like, oh, that fucking dumb,
Yeah.
Basically, what Gwar would say, fucking Gwar,
Yeah.
So like, I think that's a cool thing. That's another marginalized band that I think was able to make some huge
like
progress.
Gwar should not still be fucking like after like 30 years. Like the fact that Gwar is still touring and still
in like smaller venues. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like even now with it being because it was built for like Dave Brockie was the RuPaul of metalheads.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he could take you, put some weird makeup on you and put you in heels and make you a fucking star. You're part of the show. Like,
Yeah.
And it was a machine. It was, I think you even talked about, or you guys were talking about somebody working on tour with them and stuff like that. Like that's a kind of a thing where like it was almost like it became a business. Like that's how big Gwar became as an independent, crazy art band.
They're like, they're like an industry, but they're like, they're like this machine that like all the Gwar like, man, getting that started must have been insane. Like venues must have saw them bringing shit and been like, what the fuck is this?
What the fuck? The big jaws of death. You got fucking a giant maggot that you're feeding people to. Like even to the extent of like to the ICP level of like having to put plastic over shit because they're spraying it all over. Like, but it made it like. Tell me how that's not perfect.
Yeah, funny you bring them up. ICP is like. So for a long time it was like okay, cool to really hate ICP.
Yeah.
And as I got older, and I had some friends who were juggalos. And
same, yeah.
And like, as I got older, I was like, you know what? I kind of like have this weird respect for it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? My like hats off to them. They built this thing kind of like really on their own. It's very different. I always like, I like when fan bases are kind of like part of it.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I just don't like their music.
I have nothing. I have nothing bad to say. Yeah, it's the same.
I like I want to. I'm like but you know what's the really fucked up part is. I like Twisted.
Oh wow, that is crazy. Yeah, so you like
I like Twisted.
You like clown evil rap.
I do not like ICP.
Just not that.
I don't like the ones who like are the. Apparently they don't. They're not friends anymore. They're not friends anymore. Man. They're just crazy. I started getting into Twisted.
To fuck yourself over.
I started getting into Twisted after. I just started getting into Twisted. I always liked a couple Twisted songs. I've been listening to them more, and they've added like kind of metal elements into shit. And like I'm listening to it, and I was like looking it up. I'm like, fuck, they're not friends anymore. God damn it, because I have a close friend that works with ICP a lot. Shout out Zach Amico.
Okay, yeah, hell yeah, very nice gentleman.
Oh, fucking, he is.
Yeah.
One of the sweetest human beings and one of the best roasters, joke writers.
He's one of the funniest. It's ironically, bitingly, hilariously sweetest guys I've ever met.
Oh,
Like it could go either way.
yeah.
He-
Yeah.
he-
What they do is like he's so sweet too. Sometimes you're like almost not even sure.
Yeah. yeah. Like when he was super nice, like he was like, "Hey, have a seat, hang out or whatever." I was like, "Oh, he's gonna fucking make fun of me." He's like, "No, he meant like hang
He
out." And then he
100%
started
meant it.
asking me questions, and I was like, "Oh, you're just a nice guy."
He's just such a nice
We're just
guy.
having a conversation.
Yeah, he's so
Wait,
nice.
are we recording this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did make someone pass out at Skankfest
Okay.
by
Good.
barbecue skewering his head. I did a deathmatch wrestling
Oh,
spot to
oh,
his
you
forehead.
did that.
I did,
Oh,
it to,
okay,
I did
yeah.
it to Zach.
Okay.
And it made someone in the audience pass out.
Hell yeah. So you guys are bonded for life.
Oh, we're bros.
But yeah,
he's my guy.
So he's friends with the
ICP, like, so he does a lot of commentary for their wrestling company now
Yes.
too.
Champion
and he
Shit Wrestling.
Yeah, and he no,
It's back to Ship, yeah.
No, but it's now it's I don't know that one, but they're doing JCW now, Juggalo
And it used to
Championship
be
Wrestling.
Championship, but now
Yeah.
it's Championship.
Yeah,
Sorry.
And
I know about him. I'm familiar. I'm adjacent. It's the same thing. I've
Yeah.
been very familiar with the news of them.
I
and
would so go to the gathering.
I watched them when they came into wrestling. I was a
Yeah,
fan
yeah,
of
yeah.
wrestling at the time.
Yep.
Like so, I had a really close friend back in Florida. That's I'm sure a sentence that's been said a million times. A friend back in Florida
friend
that
in
was
Florida?
a huge fan of ICP. So he's how I got into them. Like back in like the late '90s. Like it was
Yeah.
forever ago. So they were somebody that was that.
Yeah. And it was like, I remember at first it was like, yeah, like when you're a kid, you're like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Oh, you're a juggalo.
This
It's
is
fucking
corny,
so
fucking
lame.
weird.
And now I'm like, you know what? I wish I was a fan.
Yeah.
I
I wish I liked them.
Because also they seem like fun guys.
It seems like at this point now, it's almost like like how deadheads are. You know what I mean? Like they.
Nah, I'll hang out with juggalos before deadheads.
No. Any day of the week. I'm saying it's like deadheads meet Buffalo Bills fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're like really toned down Buffalo Bills
Yeah.
fans. They're like, I'm looking to get fucked up, but really I don't want to like hurt anybody.
Yeah.
But I think,
How's your jam band feelings?
brother.
Yes.
One of my favorite NoFX songs is August 8th, which is written about how happy he is the day that Jerry Garcia died. But he ended up getting the date wrong. I think it was like it was
That's
actually
like the
August
most Fat
9th.
Mike thing to do.
Isn't it? Yeah, and
Make
he's
a
still,
diss track in the wrong fucking date.
that
You
like
fucking idiot.
it's the funniest thing. But I hate, like, without irony, I get it, but I absolutely hate, like, there's no wink wink nudge nudge hippies in general. Like that was one of my favorite things about Guar, that when I've heard Slaughterama for this time,
Yeah.
first time I was like, they're killing Nazis. That's tickling my punk bone.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Then they're killing hippies. I'm like, oh my god, these guys.
Yeah.
They hate hippies, do they?
Yeah, speaking to me.
But I have had, again, from personal experience and growing up in Florida, lots of drum circles, lots of fucking mooches,
Yeah,
lots
yeah.
of beach bums that are just free spirits. But I fucking,
that fucking
it's
shit.
so crazy to me. But I'll tell you one thing that, what's your, but before that, actually, what's your feelings on them? Obviously,
I don't like
you
them.
agree.
I
but
just don't like them.
Do you have any personal, like, animosity
Nope.
to them? Like, or is there, yeah.
Nope. I just think it's boring as shit and shut the fuck up.
I think if you're following, I would rather.
I even tried. I remember I was driving to a gig.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. Everyone fucking never shuts the fuck up about Fish.
Okay, yeah, Fish is a good one. That
I'm
was
gonna
the other one I was
fucking
thinking of.
put it on right now.
Yeah.
Listen to it. I'm like, man, this is bad, and you guys listen to this for fucking 8 hours. This sucks.
You travel.
This is
like,
boring.
That's the thing, is you travel to go listen to this. Like that. That's when I came down to the thought of, like, I remember I would go one of the times I went to see Guar.
Yeah.
I was waiting outside of the bus, outside of the venue, and the slaves were coming out with the texts and stuff, were coming out with the stuff, and then, like, but I was waiting to meet somebody in the band. Well, little did I know, Dave Brocky comes out and he's drinking a thing of milk or whatever. And I was like, and he goes, a gallon of milk, and he goes, offers it to me, and I go, oh no, thank you. But, like, he wasn't in his getup. He was just, but he's still painted up, so I thought he was just another one of the slave techs or whatever.
Brocky.
So I was just like, no, thank you. But apparently that helps to coat the throat
that makes sense.
after a night of screaming and shit.
Yeah.
But I imagine that being a way more fulfilling thing because of, like, how cool. And then when Beefcake came out, he took pictures with me and my friends. He, like, asked us about our, like, how do we like the show. I was wearing a Slayer shirt. He complimented. He had a Pee Wee Herman tattoo. It was like, we were, like, just talking about cartoons and fucked up shit. Like, that would be way more fulfilling, and at least you get a show every time.
Yeah.
If you go see the Grateful Dead, I'm like, or the Fish or any of that, they're just playing the same song for 7 hours.
Yeah.
And then they take an intermission, and then they come back.
It's like, and I just find it like, I find it such boring music. I know everyone's always like, yeah, but they jam and stuff like that. I don't want to hear that.
I don't care. Yeah.
I want to hear fucking rippers, man.
Okay. All right. This is.
But also, I can't remember. I think someone wrote it, and I have a lot of Fish fan friends.
Oh,
and there was something about it. Might have been my buddy. I think my friend Gene. He puts up Gene Meyer.
Gene Meyer, yeah, I know.
Fucking
Yeah,
love him. Funny comic, bandit. Puking on stage.
Yeah.
Love you, Gene. But I something about his. He put it up with like, if you could commit a crime, it's like, would you go to jail or a Fish concert? And I was like, put me in jail,
bro. Yeah, put me in the worst jail. Put me in the fucking Epstein jail. I don't give a shit, bro. Okay, so this is gonna be a nice little another test. And this is even something I disagree personally with Andy. How do you feel about jazz?
I don't give two fucks about jazz.
There it is. You're new Andy. Yeah, Andy, you're out.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if it's because I have no musical ability or something, but like I don't care.
No, it's the same. This is the same thing as jam bands or anything. Yeah. They go, it's the notes they're not playing. Oh, fun. So you didn't practice.
The words I'm not speaking.
You know what I like? When everybody goes, like, and the bass drum goes along with everything. The bass is playing the same thing. That's cool. They have to practice that. And it's skill, and you get good at it. And like,
see, for me, it's like, the jam bands is like an active dislike. Jazz, I sort of have no opinion.
Okay.
Because I don't really listen to it. It's just like I avoid it. Like it's just that doesn't really.
I get this.
My partner likes jazz a bit more, but he's more sophisticated than I am.
Yeah,
but like I kind of like not like. I don't know why. Maybe it's just never really.
To me, it's
punctuated my life as much as fucking jam bands have.
That same aggravation though that you get of you're listening to it and you're like, I don't like, they're not doing anything. Yeah. And like it's a weird thing. So maybe we don't see eye to eye on that. That's okay. That's fine.
No, I don't like jazz. I'm not gonna be like, I'm not defending jazz. Like I don't care.
I would never defend
fly.
Jazz. Yeah.
Like I don't. Yeah, I'm just like. Bleh.
Do you think there is a band that you would travel, like camp and go see them every time? Do you think there's a band that you would? I don't think so either.
I don't like.
It would get old. It's like eating.
It's weird to me that it's always like. I don't like. I'll wait till they come back around. Like I can see myself traveling to go see a band. Like I almost went to Toronto to go see Cancer Bats and Comeback Kid play a show there because they're from Canada.
And that's a huge Canadian lineup.
Yeah, and it was like, I'll drive 8 hours. I was going to Toronto, but I didn't end up doing it. But I'd do that. Like, but
I had friends drive to Atlanta from Florida, Central Florida, for Weezer.
You what? Wait. For Weezer?
For Weezer. Somebody drove.
They're gonna come around.
They're coming around. That's what I learned in my, I made fun of them so much for that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I get it. They also did it for Tool, and I kind of understood that because they weren't coming any closer. And Tool is one of those bands that I just never. Their fans ruined it for me too.
Oh, fair.
I never got into them, but it's not. I kind of feel the same way about jazz. Like, all right, I just.
Tool's one of the ones I'm like, I like it.
Yeah.
It's not like.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Now I drove from that same distance. It was from St. Petersburg, Florida to Atlanta is about 8 to 10 hours, I think. I think that's about the drive.
Yeah.
So it's like a day or so drive, depending. But we did the same drive to go see Refused. But the caveat was they had been broken up for 13 years.
Sure.
And then that was their first show back of their first tour back and all this other shit. So I don't know. Is there? So what would?
But that kind of stuff makes sense. But I mean, I've driven for festivals.
Okay.
I don't know what the longest I've driven for a concert is.
Have you ever opened for a band before, like doing comedy?
No. We did some things for some local stuff, but that was about it. Although one time I went and saw years ago when I first started doing comedy, 36 Crazy Fists was playing a very small venue in Connecticut, and the guitar player's power all went out, and he wasn't doing shit. And then Brock was the singer was just trying to talk to the crowd. He was like, I don't know any jokes. And I was like, I do. And he pulled me on stage and had me do 2 quick little jokes.
Get the fuck out of here.
And then he was like, yeah, Pete saved the show. And it was a very cool little thing. This
is a fun story I've shared on Drag the Lake before, but I had one instance where I went to see Guttermouth live.
Oh.
And Guttermouth at one point I was in the pit and I was near the front, and they did the never happened to me before. This is why I don't like being near the front, is because anytime the microphone gets to me, I'm not great with lyrics, and I'm also not great, I guess, on the spot, because I tried to make a joke. He goes, he's like, "Hey, what do you want to hear next?" He's like, and I said, "Your next song."
He just punched you.
But this is the worst thing. He goes, "What?" And then I go, "Your next song." And then he turns to his guitar player and he goes, "What did he say?" And the guy goes, you asked him what you wanted to play next, and he said, "Our next song." And he goes, "Oh, this one's called," and it was just like, it was like, it wasn't as bad because I wasn't actually on the stage, but I definitely bombed. That was like, I mean, I was way before I was doing comedy. This was like, I was a teenager, but it was still like, and then they played the song and I was like, "Oh, I like this song." I just don't know the names of a lot of them. But, we don't have to just talk all about music. We can talk a little bit about, comedy or
music
something like that.
There are certain songs I jump on. Like last time I saw Stick to Your Guns, they played when they were playing like Diamond in its entirety.
Yeah.
And they played the song "Life in a Box," which is like a song about beating up homophobes.
Oh yeah.
I like jumped up on stage and like started like fucking screaming along and shit. And that was sweet. I wasn't gonna like dive onto the crowd though because I didn't trust them to catch me.
Yeah. I think that's the thing with being a big guy. So that's you say you actually you would have a personal connection to that, being somebody who identifies as gay. I don't know, is that how you say it? That's one thing.
Fucks dudes.
That there is a
really crass about how I talk about.
Well, there's that's what I'm saying is like how much, because like a lot of times I'm sure everybody brings it up, is the fact that like it's a weird way to say it, but to say like you don't look gay is like, it's a weird way to say
sound gay,
but you're in a
act gay.
You're not only in a community like comedy, but also a community in metal and hardcore and stuff that is not necessarily. Well, I don't know. You can tell me maybe the better experience. I wouldn't say homophobic, but definitely okay with homophobic speak. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Metal surprisingly better.
Yeah.
Overall, or at least the bands that I am hanging out with. I mean, as far as like homophobic speak, like I don't know, it just doesn't. We don't play that fucking homophobic shit.
You know what I mean? Like it's like that kind of.
Like especially now, like making friends with so many of the bands, like they're super cool. They like my comedy.
Yeah. The music is the connector. Like that's no matter what. Like that's the supposed to. I talk about it a lot on Drag the Lake and stuff about it being punk being a community that's a lot of times like. This is a thing for all the outcasts and all the people that don't like have popular opinions, but then they're like, not you, not you, you.
I think is what I like about a lot of metal.
They're literally
it's
like
not,
anybody.
It's just like, hey, we're gonna write killer riffs about spooky shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's like horror movies. It's about like cannibalism. It's about a lot of religion, and if you really think about that, nothing in those kind of like aside, unless you're I guess Pantera or something like that, is never hate speech necessarily. It's maybe hate imagery sometimes. You know, I mean, not Pantera. Phil Anselmo. I never have known how to say so.
No, for sure. Like that. Like fucking Municipal Waste, one of my favorite bands. They wrote an entire EP that's just about John Carpenter movies.
Right.
Fucking rules.
There are a lot of times misunderstood people. I think it's the outcome that a lot of times what punk thinks it is what metal actually is. And it's weird that they always had that. They always had that kind of like.
But of course, like people still have like the connotations of like metal from like the 80s, which sure, like I know, like, and I've heard. And I think Kerry King has even talked about it. Like when Halford came out, he was like shocked. It was a jarring thing to him.
But he wasn't like ew.
No,
he was like, whoa.
He might have been. Maybe maybe he was first. But even still, like obviously, you know, which is like fine. Okay, yeah, I understand. Metal was like could have been a bit of a meathead genre back in the day, and they thought everyone in glam looked gay and stuff like that, which is funny because they were getting all the girls.
Yeah. And if you think about it too, a lot of like the newer genres or newer, more interesting things that, like, I don't know if you would consider necessarily the Locust metal, but the Locust, you ever heard the band Locust?
No, I don't think I have.
The Locust, they're more of a, I guess they're.
Maybe I have and I don't sounds vaguely familiar.
They're more. I can't remember grindcore. They're closer to grindcore.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm not a huge grindcore guy.
It's a very specific genre. Yeah, of like hardcore or metal.
No, I know. Yeah. Like,
but yeah,
Gene plays and he pukes on stage.
If I if I remember correctly, I believe it was 2 members of the Locust got married on stage. In a state where it was like they were trying to ban it, like specifically.
I do think I fucking remember that.
Yeah, like that was the first time when I remember hearing of a member of a band that I liked being gay, and I was just like, "Fuck yeah, dude!" And also, like, I think I don't know if they were necessarily just doing it to be hilarious, but it was good. Like they were doing it as a stunt.
I mean, it is hilarious, but it is also like a fuck you to like.
I'm not. You want to go? I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing. Like, I get it. That's awesome. Fuck yes. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, sorry. I apologize.
But also, like, yeah, and it's funny too because I know like municipal waste has been like very like. I would say like I'm trying to like. They've been pretty like anti like conservatism and like right wing shit. They're fucking from Virginia, and so like I don't know, just bands like I think they show like it's for everyone. And as long as you're not a fucking dick, and like bands have come such like a far way,
right.
Like it is like I just want to like play cool riffs and headbang and drink or don't drink, and like
right. I like that too. I always like the aspect of do what you want kind of thing. I think literally it's lyrics of a Bad Religion song. Do what you want, just don't do it.
Bad Religion is my favorite punk band.
I love Bad Religion. Yeah, that was my. I drove 3 hours to see them. For sure.
I actually drove. We went pretty far to one of the Punkin' Drublic festivals when it was them.
Those were awesome.
When it was them and NoFX, which was and then it started to like rain partway through and NoFX said it was a fucking wild show.
Yeah.
Bad Religion I've seen. The best thing is Bad Religion played Suffer in its entirety and then still had time for another half hour of songs.
It's so funny. Like they just
Suffer, my favorite Bad Religion album.
Yeah, they go through and Surfer by NoFX, great EP. But they would have my favorite thing about that because I got to see them post Las Vegas when they were doing Camp Anarchy, which is a thing where it's the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Craft beer, camp out for a couple days. All the best Warped Tour bands, like all that other shit. It was perfect. But I had the same experience of it's like the DIY aspect that is always touted or always like kind of like thrown out there by punk. Yep. Like they're the ones that are like DIY, do it your own, don't listen to people, don't go by the status quo. And in my lifetime, it has gone into this weird like it's essentially just like we play stuff that's a little different than the radio sometimes, and it doesn't. And metal has only gone into this thing where it's been more, or where not even metal and hardcore. Like even another band that I've like might get a little much sometimes, but Propaganda. That's another one where they're just, and he watches hockey. He fucking loves the same bands I love. Yeah. He likes to drink beer. He likes drinking Bud Light Lime. That's his. You know what I mean? Like
I like Bud Light.
It's like, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, to me, it just helps. And I don't mean to like, I'm sure you talk about this a lot about in general. And like, I don't mean it to mean like that's your identity, but
with comedians, no.
No, really?
Well, music wise, it's kind of I would say most comics don't go in depth as I do into music, especially not metal and punk.
Right.
It's usually very ancillary.
Okay.
Like most, like a lot of comics I've come across, like they're not going to talk Bad Religion. Like that's not going to be one where they're not going to go deep and they're not going to refuse and stuff like that, which is fine. They usually a lot of people there. It's like comedy sort of overtakes everything else.
That becomes your new thing. Yeah.
So I don't talk. I feel like I don't. So when I do meet like anyone else in comedy who is like a music nerd, I'm like, come here.
Yeah. No, because I mean, dude, I appreciate you saying that because that's what I want to do. Like, it doesn't always have to be, to me, if you're always one thing, if you're only one thing particular, like to me, I met a lot of people in jiu-jitsu that were like die hard. They love jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
they buy
for sure.
Jiu-jitsu shirts. They go to jiu-jitsu seminars to do this. And I'm like, but you don't have anything else past that. It's not interesting. You're not as interesting. But like,
I also like, it's nice because comedy, I'm in comedy.
Yeah.
That's right. I do that.
Yeah.
It's like kind of nice to sort of like be a fanboy and like just talk about the thing I love.
Yeah.
Just because I love. Yes, I loved comedy, but it did change a little bit for me.
Yeah.
When I started doing it, and now it's this big, huge part of my life.
Yeah.
Where music is still a huge part of my life, but it's not the thing that like I'm doing. I get to just like kind of be a fan of it and talk about it and like how it, affects me.
I think you brought up something. I heard you say this, and I love this because I think we share the same mindset of, I don't ever like let go of a band.
Yeah.
I only add.
Yeah.
Like I've only ever added to my repertoire.
Yeah.
Like, so I'll go back and I'll listen to like All Ages from Bad Religion or Suffer or Against the Grain is my personal favorite.
Okay, yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. Like, and I'll get something brand new out of it. A whole new perspective. Listening to it as somebody who's 15 years older than the first time I listened to it, or whatever it is. Any of those things. And the fact that they're still doing it, except for No Effect, shout out to them for just being like, we're done. You know what I mean? Like, I know that they're going to...
Give us 5 years, we'll come back.
Yeah, they'll be back and they'll have the reunion tour or whatever. Yeah. But they're a band that was, to me, it's both.
Yeah.
To me, comedy, when injected into anything, makes it better.
Yeah.
Look at something like Shaun of the Dead, where it's like, that's a great horror movie.
Yeah.
But it's also fucking hilarious.
That's why it's so good.
Yeah, right. Like Pineapple Express is a great action movie that's also fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Like it has way too good of action sequences for it just to be a fucking
stoner comedy.
Yeah. It's those things where they do those things. So to me, when you have somebody like Tenacious D, who can fucking rip.
Yeah.
Like to me, it's the same thing as Gwar. I never ironically liked Tenacious D. I always thought they kicked ass.
Yeah, me too.
Ever since I saw their like MTV show, and then I heard their first produced album in like '99. It was one of those things where you're like, this is what I listen to.
Yeah.
Like this is metal, but it's also hilarious. It's commitment to the silly, and it's all that other stuff. Aquabats is another good example of like, where I think those shows, Gwar, Aquabats, any of these other ones, are on the same level as entertaining. It's just different as like NoFX, who would go up there and kind of just do 15 minutes of comedy and like a 45-minute set.
Yeah.
Like they would just make that an hour.
Yeah. NoFX too also, it was like the caliber of playing was also pretty unbelievable.
Way better than they always said.
Like especially, what's his, fuck.
Eric Melvin? Oh,
Jefe. What?
El Jefe?
El Jefe.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's playing guitar and the trumpet at the same fucking time.
Trumpet, fucking... Melvin taught himself how to play accordion. Like, they all have these things where you're like, they're crazy. Yeah. I played a song for one of my... It was a French class in high school. I think it was French 1 or 2. I don't know how I got to French 2, by the way. I don't know French, but it's Florida, so. Yeah. But they said, bring in a...
You said baguette and you like passed.
Yeah, I was like, deux, trois, cat. I know cat, but I would get to like a certain point where they said that you have to have a project they had was bring in a French song or something that you're a fan of, or an example of French media in general. And there's a song off of my personal favorite NoFX album, So Long and Thanks for All the Shoes, called, they're covering the Champs-Élysées, I think it's called, Champs-Élysées. I don't even know how to say it. French 2 class.
Yeah, man, I'm picking your word for it.
And it's just them playing, and then, then it's just a little distorted. It's basically like Me First and Gimme Gimme's doing a French song. It's essentially the same feeling. And it's like, and I'm like, what do you think? I'm like, also, what are they saying? And she said she could not understand a word they were saying. So either they were not speaking French or she couldn't understand what distortion was on a guitar. And she actually said there's like a sound. I was like, I think the distortion. But no, I think there's something like to...
Probably picked that Megadeth song where he speaks French in it.
Which one is that?
I don't know. It's like
I've seen Megadeth, and I still don't know a ton about them. I always thought... I have a weird theory that I brought up a lot of times.
He got kicked out of Megadeth for doing too much. He got kicked out of Metallica for doing too much heroin.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
He was too much of a drug addict for Metallica.
For Metallica at their druggiest and their long hairiest. I have a theory with a lot of bands when they lose.
Tote Le Monde.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Probably
something
another
about
cover.
somehow Images of Death. Yeah.
She would not have understood it because of the
not.
distortion.
Especially tape. Like, how's that your voice, man?
But no, I think there's something about like the connection you have with music. It's a lot of times with like smells. I'll connect smells with memories, music with memories, stuff like that. Do you remember your first like your first memory with metal, like the first time like you remember? Because I remember this was
so tough.
No, this was this. I'll give you a little example of like I was always a punk fan, right? And I was always taught by punk, like even artists, songs, the lore and everything. Metalheads and punk guys don't get along.
Yeah.
And then I remember very distinctly, I saw Jeff Hanneman of Slayer. And it was like a late night weird show with Jack Osbourne, and he was introducing music videos that he personally suggested, and it was like after 1:00 in the morning or something like that, and it was this weird show, and he was playing Rain and Blood live, and Jeff Hanneman very distinctly on his guitar had a Dead Kennedy sticker.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wait a minute, I love Dead Kennedys. How the fuck is this? What does this mean? So I find out the way that Slayer came. The way Slayer, if I may be as bold, this is not as hot as a take that Taylor had. Maybe not. Created a genre.
Okay. All right, I was gonna be like, all right, be careful because Slipknot, I'm not a diehard fan. Slayer, I'll jump over tables for.
They created a genre, and very simply by saying, Jeff Hanneman loves Dead Kennedys, Kerry King loves Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden, and they go, we can both play fast. We can also fucking play just this stuff a lot faster.
Yeah.
And I think invented the genre of, and that's probably up for debate. Maybe there might be historians out there that are going to correct me like crazy, but I think there's something to say. Yeah. Not only.
Oh, will they?
Not only is it blend, like not only do they blend, but also like I'm hearing this and I'm like, I love this.
Yeah.
Like this loves that. So I remember very distinctly. That's when I was like, okay, I think I can open my.
Do you think
my
they
heart.
help invent like crossover?
Yeah.
Like,
or at least in my eyes, like it was to me, it was like how maybe a lot of metalheads might have felt about rap when they see the Run DMC Aerosmith thing. You know what I mean?
For sure. Definitely, there's definitely something to be said about that. And I know it's funny too. Is a lot like where like really thrash was invented, and a lot of people will actually point to Motorhead as helping sort of invent that genre.
It is,
and also Motorhead might be the greatest equalizer. When you get like punks, metalheads like that, play Motorhead, everyone's happy.
Yeah,
it's wild.
That's actually
everyone loves fucking Motorhead.
That is the.
And if you don't, fuck you.
Yeah, if I honestly, there's no takes allowed with Motorhead. Like you have to understand. But see, that was the thing.
Coming from a guy who's wearing a Motorhead fucking necklace, and I have a Lemmy skull tattooed on my fucking leg.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, trust me, I'm not gonna. I would never. And that's the thing with them is they were another band that like I don't know how I knew about them, but I've always known about them.
Ace of Spades was just being played somewhere.
It's just a perfect song,
and it just be embedded into your fucking head.
Yeah, that's a song. Oh, you know what? Maybe it was Tony Hawk.
Probably.
It's probably Tony Hawk.
Honestly, that's how I discovered Bad Religion. Yeah. That's how I discovered so many things.
That was a beautiful thing too. It was like the compilations in general. I talk about it.
Did you ever go back and look at that list and you go, how did Papa Roach get on here?
Yeah.
And that's from a guy who had a huge Papa Roach face.
I had Papa Roach's album. I definitely wanted to see them. I never saw them live, but
I've seen them several fucking times.
Have you really?
Yep.
Yeah, I never.
And guess what? Very good live.
Yeah, they're a fine band.
I saw them. I remember. I know it was years ago, and it was them and Stained.
Wow.
And I don't know how they came to the decision to let Papa Roach go on before Stained, because Papa Roach, dude, they go fucking apeshit. He's running around the fucking stadium and shit, running around, and then Aaron Lewis is just like leaning on his fucking microphone.
I've seen some really wholesome videos with him though, with him and like young
Which
fans.
One? Aaron Lewis?
Yeah, is that the guy from No, Stained, not Stained.
You think of Disturbed?
That's the one. Yeah, sorry. See, that was the thing.
I've always seen Disturbed a lot too.
I will say when Korn and everything was happening at like real time, I was not the biggest Korn fan. I've learned to respect them a little bit.
I was a little boy, so I was young.
How old are you now?
35.
Oh, I'm 38.
Yeah.
I was pretty young too.
Yeah, but you think about it. But think about this: a 12-year-old versus a 15-year-old.
I was probably already drinking by then too.
Yeah, 15 to 16-year-old.
Yeah.
That's like 12-year-old's like, oh boy, yeah, and like a 16-year-old's like, fuck you.
Yeah, this fucking so dumb.
Yeah,
Mom.
So it's amazing how like even though that's very close in age, that if you like bring it back to the, like 20 years ago, or like how fucking old we are now, but like that's such a giant difference, like a 12-year-old to then like a 16-year-old.
Yeah, that's actually
such
really that's a good point.
Huge difference.
Yeah, I think I never had this I never had the switch completely. Like whenever I was able to buy albums or I got albums for the longest time, it would be movie soundtracks, it'd be whatever else. But a lot of times I would I had The Crow and Cool Runnings at the same time.
Yeah, I mean I loved that. I like one of those movies more than the other, and guess which one? I like Cool Runnings a lot. Dude, that was a big movie in my house.
It holds up.
Oh, so good.
It holds up. John Candy is a god in my eyes
so much.
But but it would essentially be that, like, because I liked the variety, and I'd also but like as far as like the first 2 albums I bought, like this is even still before I would say the Slayer thing probably was Britney Spears.
Yeah. Okay.
And Blink-182.
Okay, that makes sense.
So like, and it was like very similar, both naked, both
naked,
both cutie pies. They're all cutie pies there, a bunch of cutie pies. But I really did like it had to be like I forked, but this never necessarily went away. You know what I mean? Like I'd always still have a little bit of a pop side or a little bit of whatever, but it just ended up getting to like more serious and like brutal music over to where I'm listening to a 911 call of an ape ripping a lady's face off by Suicide Silence.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And I'm just like, this is
the greatest thing.
This brings me joy.
Yeah.
I go to my wife, this gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, not in the way of like, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
It's terrified meets like, this is true art.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you will suffer. And I'm that's a great song. I love that song.
The first album I ever bought was the debut album of 3 Doors Down. Okay. A Better Life. And I'm not even fucking joking.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's a good.
It's still. Me and a buddy of mine.
Rob Thomas is a fucking artist, my friend.
He wasn't in them.
Yeah, Rob 3 Doors Down.
That's Matchbox 20.
I'm doing it again. Yeah. Wait, what was 3 Doors Down?
Kryptonite.
Superman.
If I go crazy, I'm still call. Yeah, they just sing exactly the same.
Okay. So you see my confusion.
Sure.
Okay, sorry.
But so me and a buddy of mine, a comedian in Connecticut named Ish Gupta, we had a podcast where we were talking about like we would go back. I can listen to albums from our youth, see if they like, still hold up, and we try to get a comic every week to come on and pick one, and they always. Our friends were fucking idiots. They would fuck it up constantly. They pick an album they still liked. We're like, no, it's every one you hadn't listened to in a long time. Yeah. So we started off, and it was like just me and him, and I did the 3 Doors Down. Went back, and we were like, this is actually pretty good.
Got no notes.
I was like, this is pretty solid. And I know for a fact because I remember after that album, everything else sucked.
Yeah.
I never listened to anything else from them.
I remember being really big into Sugar Ray.
They were also big Jesus people. Apparently, 3 Doors Down's like a Christian band too.
Oh, really? Sugar Ray, sorry.
But is it? I always heard like Sugar Ray when they started were like metal as fuck.
So that was the thing, right? I got into like every morning.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm like, this is fucking good. Yeah. Fuck off. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Yeah. That album, 1459, this is a fucking good album.
Every so often.
I just got it, too. Like, not like a couple years ago, 1459, because their 15 minutes of fame is almost up.
Yeah.
Oh, they get it. They're being self-deprecating.
Yeah, they understand. But we're in the Scooby-Doo movie. It's fine.
They were very right.
Yeah,
but
for
like
sure.
Something like that. And then I go like, but at the time I'm listening to punk, so I'm like, I don't know if I can I really, like, am I allowed to like this? And then you hear
yeah, for sure.
Brownies and Lemonade, I think it was called, was the album. And they had that song Mean Machine.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is just kind of like a punk song, like, or like a metal song or something like that. It's like, it just rocks. It just, like, that's it.
Apparently he has a very good podcast.
Who? Sugar Ray?
Sugar Ray, yeah. You know,
Sugar Ray?
Mr. Ray, Sugar if you're nasty.
Mr. Sugar?
Mr. Sugar. Mr. Sugar. Yeah, apparently he has like a really good music podcast.
The fuck is that guy's name?
Mark McGrath.
Mark McGrath. Yeah, I was almost called him Rob Thomas. I don't want to fucking.
Everyone's is Rob
Thomas. I don't want you to bite my head off again. Jesus Christ. But so I guess really there was I just real quick just to get right at the end here. I like to have like a couple like kind of stock questions that I ask
Yeah.
or whatever, just to kind of get a good gauge, because we talked a lot about music. Obviously, we're best friends now. We know that. But do you have any kind of superstitions, whether it be religion or even just like a day-to-day, like don't step on a crack, don't, whatever, performing? Do you have any kind of superstitions? Do you believe in any kind of...
I have certain T-shirts
Okay.
that are like the ones that I'm like, these ones do good.
Do you think that's a big guy thing, or is that a superstition thing? Because I have a couple of those too, where I'm like, this is for outside wear.
No, but like I have social ones. I'm like, oh, if I'm gonna be like, if I'm doing like, if I have a set I'm doing like a big show, or like I know I'm gonna record, like it's gonna be filmed or something like that. Or there's like
that's like your special.
I have a
shirt.
few. Yeah, I have like there's a few of them. I have
Okay.
like a couple of them that I always like, because I'll have a show and one like. And if it doesn't like go that well, and it's like the first time wearing that band T-shirt, I'm like, I'm gonna hold off on
again.
I'm gonna hold off on wearing this one for a while, until it proves itself again.
I can see that.
So that's like the closest thing I have. Like when I'm like if I'm like, that's why everyone thinks I have like 3 T-shirts.
Yeah.
Because all my clips, I'm either in a Municipal Waste shirt, a Gay Creeper shirt, or a Slayer shirt. So people only think I have those 3 T-shirts.
But those are horrendous. Those are the most part. We talk about it a lot on the show on like Drag the Lake and stuff about like merch, like bands where you're like, come on, you got big guy fans. Make some better shirts, and those are 3 bands I think get it.
Oh,
I
for sure.
Cannibal Corpse is another one, honorable mention. They were ones that know. You got a lot of 3Xers out there.
I have oh my god, there's a guy on Instagram, and he does like these funny like videos about like about like hardcore dancing and breakdancing, and he had this one about how like being a merch guy when you see another twink come ask for a 3XL shirt, and I commented on it. It has like my comment has like 20,000 likes. People keep following me because of it. And I said, awesome. And I just wrote, yeah, twinks, stop stealing my shirt. Just sleep with me and I'll give it to you.
Oh, that's fucking hilarious. That is one thing I will say about being a guy in general in music, no matter what, is especially if you're a big guy that likes smaller gentlemen.
Yeah.
You're always going to lose a shirt or two in a relationship.
None of them want my shirts.
They don't want your shirts?
My shirts are fucking... You think gays want to wear the fucked up shirts I wear? No.
I don't know. Maybe.
No.
No. Maybe they don't like a...
It is very... It is
not even anal cunt?
Not anymore.
Damn it. Wait, what happened to them?
He died.
Why?
He fell off an escalator.
What a douche. What a prick.
He died in the dumbest way possible.
What a lame way for the guy from anal cunt to die. What did he die? Mass shooting? What was he?
He fell off an escalator.
Because there's like a Norwegian band that like, didn't they kill and eat each other or something? Or like,
okay, so.
Oh, sorry,
yeah, so, no, the band, so when Mayhem first started,
Mayhem.
They had this singer who just called himself Death or Dead, I can't fucking remember.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? Black metal, you're gay.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's coming from him.
Yeah, you're stupid.
He knows.
You're the coolest, darkest. You're gay.
Yeah.
But he had this psychological thing where he thought he was already dead. But then one day he shot himself in the head. They found him, took photos of him, and then made necklaces out of his skull fragments.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. Go laugh at black metal. It's
pretty lame. Yeah.
If you like Lords of that's the funny thing about like the whole Lords of Chaos thing and the whole black metal church burning stabbings of Euronymous and Varg. Like Varg, you're a dickhead.
I'll say this. Also, burning down churches in a gunless country is pretty fucking pussy. Come do that in fucking Alabama. Find out what happens.
Jesus Christ. I was like, this is one thing is like, churches are actually cool looking there. They take themselves so seriously, and it's that whole and it's just still people who do this shit today. They're like, oh, this is the true metal and stuff like that. Like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
They tell me how hard, how tough. There's fucking 4 people at your show.
Yeah.
Like your pits aren't literally. I have people who think fucking. I know I keep bringing up Gay Creeper, but I love Gay Creeper. They're great dudes.
They're very good, yeah.
But they're just a badass band playing death metal. But people are like, oh, that's sucking pussy shit. So we listen to this underground. I'm like, shut the. I'm like, these dudes fucking rule.
Yeah.
Gay Creeper, there's actual people at this show. We're pitting. It's crazy. Fit for an Autopsy rules. These bands rule, but you get a black metal person who's no, it's not the true. We're in the graveyard taking photos of ourselves. I'm like,
you're not cool because you're unknown.
Your production sounds like shit.
Yeah.
You're if you're good. I know some bands who are you want a good black metal band? One of 9.
Okay.
They're from the Carolina. They're from North Carolina. All their songs are about Lord of the Rings. Their drummer, my buddy Randall, fucking sick. But yeah, like it's just like it's so funny to see like that kind of stuff still happening. It was like I listen to the most brutal shit. I'm like, wow, you sound like a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think that there's something to me. There's something you can have the same. Yeah, it's all about the
like make fun of I get making fun of stuff.
Yeah.
I make fun of stuff a lot. Like
Right.
I'm not gonna stop making fun of Five Finger Death Punch.
No, never.
And I used to like them. I don't know what the fuck was wrong with
I'll
me.
never say anything bad about Nickelback's musicianship because I think they're incredible musicians. But I don't like them. I don't
Fair,
like them.
no, that's a fair point.
Their drummer rips.
I don't even mind. Here's the thing: is like, I don't even mind them.
Right.
I honestly think we owe them an apology because there are so many worse fucking bands to me.
That's a good point. I was gonna say not necessarily.
Also,
them,
I wanted to know if Nickelback disappeared for 20 years the way Creed did and then came back, would we all be losing our fucking minds about it? Because everyone went fucking berserk when Creed came back. Creed has 4 songs everyone likes.
Yeah.
Nickelback has a couple more.
Well, that's the thing. We got into that with Andy and I got into that about when Limp Bizkit came back and people were like, "Damn, Limp Bizkit's good." And you're like, "Yeah, they've kind of always been good. They've always been that."
I saw them
a
couple times.
coming back around.
I saw them when they came back around the first time, like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And it fucking ruled.
Right.
But it was wild because they also had Avenged Sevenfold on it, and everyone under a certain age left after Avenged Sevenfold.
Yeah.
And then we also stayed.
That was the funniest thing.
Bizkit.
Avenged Sevenfold. Well, we can close on this because I know you got a show you got to go to. But Avenged Sevenfold was a great. That was my first time.
Avenged Sevenfold, I will fucking say, whether you think it's mainstream or whatever, I will still say they are a good band.
Well, what I'm saying is, they were, in my opinion, they were even better. Like I was somebody who loved Waking the Fallen.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, wow, this is like I cannot wait for the next one. Then I found out they're getting City of Evil's coming out. It's actually got like promotion and like press behind it and shit. And I waited. I remember this was still CDs being like at like Best Buy. It would come out and then like
strawberries.
It would $9.99 the day it came out or something like that. It would be like on sale and like fuck yes, I'm gonna go here to this big chain. I saved up my money. I fucking can't wait.
Yeah.
And I put it on and I was just like, what is this? I go, what? Like I said like, what happened?
Yeah.
And I like listened to it and then I heard and it was almost like pro wrestling. The guy was like, yeah, that like that last album, that was just for a bunch of those like little pussies out there. And like he started playing like they were like acting like Motley Crue after that. And it was this weird thing where I was just like, why are you doing that to your own fans?
Yeah.
Like what? I mean, like there were people that continued to be that. Like obviously, and they've gotten a lot bigger since then. I was the one in the wrong. That was the right move for them, but
for sure,
it was so strange to say like you're completely like they just knocked off whatever fans they had, except for a couple, and then they just gained a bunch of. I mean, Five Finger Death Punchers.
What I think it is, especially for them, they're like 20 years old when those albums were like coming out, so like that, and being like shitheads.
Yeah.
Because I discovered them through City of Evil. Like that was
really?
That was my. That country was fucking everywhere.
Yeah, I was just like, this is cool, and I know I could tell.
See, then I went back because that's why I went back, and I didn't care, and I never cared for Waking the Fallen.
I think it's still one of the greatest.
I'm like, it's to me, it sounded too much like every other like screamcore band at that time.
To me, it
which
just
I didn't like, and I don't like his vocals in that.
Yeah,
and I like when he realized he had like a unique singing voice. I was like, oh, kind of work. Yeah, and it was more like straightforward, like kind of hard rock. So obviously they're gonna get a lot bigger, but like the musicianship is like all like they're fantastic. And again, like everyone shits on it, but you need those. You do need those bands. You need those gateway bands. Not everyone has the older brother who knows all the cool underground shit, or like the neighborhood kids who like listen. I didn't. Like I took on like once streaming services came and I was online a little more. That's how I discovered it. Yeah. I wasn't able to discover it through like a sibling or the local scene. It wasn't possible where I was at. It took years later, which I was bummed. Yeah. Do I wish I saw Hatebreed at a skate park in 1998? Yeah. But I still love Hatebreed. Like I still love him now. I love him like when I discovered him and seen him through the years. Like, so
Yeah,
just because someone likes those bands. There's a time a lot of times when people like when we're talking about like Slipknot or Korn, we're not like being like these are our favorite bands. We're talking about a time period about when they influenced us and where we headed.
Who had the hits, who had the whatever. Yeah. But I just think about bands nowadays going on those tours of like we're doing the 25th anniversary of the Waking the Fallen tour. Like when that comes around, am I going to be interested, or are they going to be changing their tune?
Oh, sure. You know what I mean? Ken Heath screaming like that too. So, but it's like, and you also, but you need those bands because I'm sorry, but like your favorite band, if you want them to tour, they need a band like that to bring them out.
Yeah,
that's the way it is. Otherwise, you need festival headliners. You need those big bands. Metallica is not going to be around forever.
No, that's why they're doing those. Like it's almost like bands, like the punk bands, kind of doing those big festival things. They're doing that because they're like, this is a great. All of our fans that were teenagers and didn't have any fucking money back then are now touring again, and they're like, all of our fans have expendable income. Yeah. They're either in their mid to late 30s or they have day jobs, no kids, whatever. Like, it's perfect. So.
There was a dude at the Municipal Waste Kerry King show that was like a 10-year-old that like Tony was like he was like, I want to see that fucking kid crowd surf. The kid was like, no, I don't think I know. And the kid was like, it was a really funny like back and forth with Tony. It was like the kid just yelled "fuck no" at me. Then awesome. He also was like, everyone's gonna get laid tonight. And he goes like, except the 10-year-old.
Except for him. That's illegal.
Not him. He's like, wait as long as you can. It sucks.
That's so awesome. I do like seeing that though. But Peter, I really appreciate you doing the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I know you were tight on time and you had a rough night or morning.
No, I mean, I just didn't do. I don't know why.
Yeah, but you want to tell people where they can find you, where they any social medias, anything?
Just follow me at Metal Pete Comedy on Instagram, and I have a TikTok as well. I just never fucking use it. I post a lot on Metal Pete Comedy. I post my dumb musical takes. I post a lot about bands. Expect more content from that. I do a lot of stuff where I ask questions, so feel free to like engage, comment. I'll yell about things that are happening. Yeah. In the metal world.
We always love to debate in the comments. I think I love it. No matter what, it's like that kind of thing of.
You can tell me I'm on crack. It's fine. A lot of people do.
Hell yeah! All right, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.